Hi everyone, my name is Mark Moikens from Big Mountain Studio. We're continuing this Itinerary App series, and today we're going to be talking about colors. If you've ever had any trouble wondering which colors to use in your app, then keep watching. This video will definitely help you get started. I'll teach you about the minimum colors you'll want to select for your app, and we'll also go over some of Apple's human interface guidelines and consider some of their recommendations. And then I'll show you some tools that you can use to help pick great looking color schemes. I'll also be updating the designs that we made in the previous videos with these colors. Okay, now let's take a look at our board where we have our to-do list of all the tasks that we want to accomplish for our project. We created this board inside of Bitbucket to manage our project so we can see what we're working on and what needs to be done and what has already been done. So when looking at this week, we have figure out fonts to use, and we've already done that, so let's move that over into the done section. And that leaves us with one last task, which is to figure out the color scheme. So we're going to leave that there, and when we finish that, then we'll move it over into the done column. Okay, now just a word of warning. I've noticed that some colors change slightly when I render videos for YouTube, and unfortunately this is out of my hands. But for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to render it on the highest quality setting possible, so hopefully that will retain the colors a little bit better. And also, everyone's monitor makes a difference too when you watch these videos, so that can also affect some of the colors that you see. My main point is some of these colors that you're seeing in this video might not be the same colors that I'm seeing. So if some colors look weird, that's why. Okay, in the previous video, we learned about starting designs with mockups and using wireframes, and then we picked fonts for these mockups, which you don't see right here. But basically what I want to point out is I did a poll and people selected the first mockup as the one they want to go with. So this is the one that we're going to go with the fonts that are already included on it. So when we select colors, we're going to apply it to this mockup. Now in the previous video, we're talking about designing apps and using this intention that apps have to guide us when we're doing our design and choosing fonts and also features that go along in our app. Basically, after you establish your intention for your app, that's what you're actually going to be using to guide you to select your colors. So in a previous video, what did we establish as our app's intention? We said that our app's intention is to assist people who are traveling. So everything about our app, the design, colors, features, fonts, everything should support and follow this app's intention. So it's important to keep this intention in mind when we're making decisions and picking colors. If you're working with a client, get with them and find out what their company's mission statement is or their company's objectives, or find out what they expect from their mobile app, what they want their mobile app to accomplish. And this will help you establish their app's intention. So once you have that established, then you can use that to figure out which colors to pick. Okay, so we come to our first question when deciding on colors, and that is, how many colors does our app need? Well, every app needs a minimum of 2 colors. They need the app's background color, and then the color for everything else, which is obvious because if everything was the same color, you wouldn't be able to see anything, right? So you at least need 2 colors. But hold on. Apple doesn't quite agree with this. In Apple's human interface guidelines, they recommend using colors to show which elements a user can interact with. And this is what's called the tint color. So they say, consider choosing a key color to indicate interactivity throughout your app. They go on to give some examples of tint color in their apps. Like in Notes, interactive elements are yellow. And in the calendar application, the interactive elements are red. And then Apple also supplies us with some suggested tint colors. So thanks, Apple. Remember, this is just a suggestion. Okay, so now we're looking at 3 colors. And just as a side note, I say one color is everything else, right? But most of the time, I call this the accent color. Now, if you're building an app for a client that already has a company logo or a website, then this whole job of selecting colors becomes a lot easier, as they'll most likely already have a color scheme for you. Or they'll at least have a logo that you can draw colors from. But if you have no idea where to start, and you have to start picking some color, then I recommend starting with the background color. I think the background color is a great place to start because it's the easiest in my opinion. You just have to pick one of two options. Do you want a lighter background or a darker background? And then you can narrow it down from there as far as like which light color do you want or which dark color do you want. So here are some examples of apps that have a darker background. And then here are some other examples of apps that have a lighter background. Now, keep the app intention in mind, which is what? That's right, it's to assist people who are traveling. And think about these people who enjoy traveling. That is our app's market. So I did some quick research and I found out the market is actually composed of a pretty wide range of ages. Between 19 and 68-year-old people travel the most. So do you think lighter or darker background colors will communicate to travelers? Well, in my opinion, traveling feels more light to me, so I think we should start off with a lighter background color. But we'll come up with other color schemes too, so it can always change. So for option A, let's start with white as the background color. Now we'll move on to selecting our tint color and a color for everything else, or the accent. Now this is the fun part. Let's go explore some tools and pick some colors. Okay, the first tool I'd like to go over with you is Adobe Color. It's a great tool for starting off with one color. If you know one color, then it will find matching colors from there. And that's really the simplicity of this website, is that you start with one color and it will find 4 other matching colors using different color rules. As you see, the first color rule is selected, which is analogous. And what that means is you start with one color and it'll pick 2 colors to the right and 2 colors to the left. So for example, if I move around this middle color here, then it selects 2 other colors to the right and left. And that is the analogous color rule. Then they have other rules too, like monochromatic. And basically what that means is mono means one, and chromatic means producing or of colors. So it's basically you start with one color and it shows you lighter and darker versions of that one color. Then we can go to triad, which is basically a triangle, right? So it creates a triangle on the color wheel. And these are some pretty funky colors in some cases, like the purple and the yellow. But they could be suitable for some other applications, right? And then we have complementary colors, which is basically opposite colors on the color wheel. So as I move this around, you notice it's always going to pick the opposite color on the color wheel. We also have compound, which is interesting. Compound means it combines more than one thing together, right? So what it's combining here is complementary colors. So you see my selected color is blue, and it chooses a color on the opposite side. It's complementary color. But then it also selects analogous colors too, to the right and to the left of those complementary colors. So that's a pretty interesting one. And then we have shades. Shades is similar to monochromatic. So it starts with one color, and then it gives you lighter and darker versions of that color. And then custom just basically allows you to select any colors you want. You can move it around and experiment and see which colors go well together. So let's go back to analogous here. And I just kind of want to show you some other things regarding this tool here. So like I said, you always start with one color, and that is the one with this white triangle, which is the base color. Now you can move this around and you can make other colors the base color, or you can just stick with the one in the middle. That's pretty much what I'm doing. And if you want, you can also tweak this and you can make it a little bit lighter or make it a little bit darker by sliding this button down here at the bottom. And if you want, you can stretch out these colors too. So if I grab this one, you notice as I stretch it out, it makes it wider and wider. So that's another way you could use this as well. Okay, so that's a pretty cool tool, especially if your client already has a color that you can start with. Now, another thing that I really like is when you go to Explore, they give you preset themes that people have already picked. So what you can do is you can come down to here where it says most popular, and it gives you more options. So you can pick the most popular options for this month, or this week, or of all time. This is kind of like a good way if you're looking for design trends. Or you can go to all time to see what are the most popular. And if you notice, there's like this thumbs up, so people can vote on these themes. And so these are themes that have the most thumbs up. And if you look at this theme right here, Sandy, Stone, Beach, Ocean. So that's actually pretty cool because, our app is sort of like that. When you think of vacations or people going on trips, what do you think of? Well, a lot of times people like to go to the ocean or to a beach somewhere. So those colors might apply. So let's do this. Let's go through and look at these colors and see if we can apply some of these colors and create our first theme in Keynote. Okay, I have Keynote open, and this was the mock-up that was decided on. And you remember how I was telling you with the design process, you want to start super simple, and then you want to refine it as you go along, make small changes to improve it. Well, that's what I did with this mock-up. If you notice on this next slide, I refined it just a little bit to give these rows a drop shadow, and I gave them rounded corners as well. And I also gave this button a drop shadow as well. And then I added these buttons to the upper corner here because think about this, when you click this button down here, you're adding a new trip, right? But then what if you want to change the name of that trip? So I added this button here, so when you click on this button, it goes back to the edit screen and you can change the trip name. So when looking at this mockup, can you tell which controls or design elements are going to use the tint color? Remember, the tint color is for interactive elements on your screen. So you probably guessed it. The tint color will be applied to these dots and to this plus button down here when you want to add a new trip. So let's go back and take a look at those color themes. So let's try using this color scheme right here. And because I'm limited on screen space, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take a screenshot of these colors and import them into Keynote. Normally I wouldn't do this because I use a much larger external monitor, but while I'm recording, I like to use a smaller resolution so it's easier for you guys to see what's happening on my screen. So to take a screenshot, I hold down Command Shift and hit 4, and then I can just select whatever it is I'm taking a screenshot of. So in Keynote, I'm just basically going to add that screenshot that I just took, the color scheme, right here. All right, so there's my color scheme. And let's see, we'll start with the tint color. And maybe what I'll do is I'll use this blue color here as the tint. So just go to your Style tab, and you'll notice if you click on the color selector here, it gives you only a limited number of colors. But what you can do is you can click on this side button over here, and it gives you this color picker. And you might recognize this color picker from Xcode. And what you want to do is you want to click on this eyedropper tool. This allows you to go around your screen and pick any color that you see on your screen. So I'm going to pick this blue color here. And then I want to change all the colors to these dots. So I'm going to click and drag to select them all. But you notice these squares are selected as well. So I'm going to hold down Shift and click on each one to deselect it. So in Keynote, when you hold down Shift, you can include something in your selection or click it again to exclude it from your selection. Okay. Now, this is kind of tricky because this color selector is up, and you think that you could just click on this and it'll change all the colors, but you can't. You have to click on the button again, and when you notice it changed to the current color, then you know you've done it right. So let's go here. You can either select the color from this button, or you can change it from your color theme here. So let's change that. So now we want to change the color of these other squares. So let's go to Style again and click on the color selector. And then from here we can experiment with these other colors. So maybe I want to use this color. And if I don't like it, you can always adjust it here. If you want to make it like a little bit lighter, like that might actually look better. Or I guess I could have just chose this lighter sand color here too. But you don't have to go exactly with this theme. So you can adjust the brightness, make it lighter, darker. I think I actually liked it the other way. When we chose this color and then we made it lighter, I think it looks good like that. For the text color, you can keep it black if you want, but let's experiment and try this other darker color over here. So for this, you have to go to the Text tab, and then you want to click on this color chooser here, and then we'll choose this darker blue. It's hard to see. Maybe when I render this video, it might look like it's black, but it's actually like a very dark blue. So I think this is a good start for our first color theme. I'm going to delete this theme right here. And I think this is a good start. We'll use this as one of our options. Okay, we've got some colors for option A now. Now let's work on option B. For this, we're going to look at some other ways we can find colors. We're going to select another color scheme using some other tools and sources of inspiration, all the while keeping in mind the intention of the app, right? Which is an app that assists people who love traveling. Okay, one tool that I've used a lot is actually Pinterest. You can do a quick search for mobile UI design, and then from there you can narrow down your search with these different options up at the top. So if I wanted to, I could look at iOS mobile UI design. And from here, I can just look for colors that I think are suitable for my market, which are people who love traveling, specifically ages between 19 and 68. So it might be lighter colors. I kind of associate lighter colors with traveling, keeping the app light and lively. Darker colors like this one right here may not be suitable for this app. Now, lighter colors like this design right here could be an option that you could explore with as well. It has a nice light yellow and it's got a purple, which could make a great accent. Or the purple could be the tint color, or the yellow could be the tint color. You get the idea, right? So my next option is actually Dribbble. And for Dribbble, you can also do a search for something like mobile UI. You can find a lot of cool things on Dribbble, and one of the things that I like about it is, here, let's just click on this option here. Dribbble automatically chooses colors that are contained within the photo. So Dribbble does this automatically. And if you hover over a color for a little while, it gives you what's called the hexadecimal number for a color. And let me explain that a little bit. That number that you see right there that begins with the pound sign represents a color. The last tool I want to share with you is what's called ColorMind. ColorMind is great because what it does is it automatically generates a color scheme for you using some artificial intelligence. As you can see in this paragraph down here, it says it can learn color styles from photographs, movies, and popular art. So I usually find when I click on that generate button, it usually comes up with a pretty cool color scheme. So it takes out a lot of the work that you might have to do, like if you're in Adobe Color and you're moving colors around. And it's pretty simple. All you do is just click on this generate button and it generates random colors. They don't have to be random though. If you start generating colors and you find some colors you like, then you can lock them down. Like say I want this red color for my tint color. So I can just click on this lock button. Keep generating other colors, but it won't change the one that has the lock on it. And then I can continue doing that as I find other colors that I like. Maybe I like this green color, so I lock that one down. And then I like this brighter color here because maybe I want to use that as my background color. So that's another option that's super cool. Now, here is something that I've run into. You might see some awesome colors together like this. As soon as you try to take those colors and you add them to your mock-up or your design, they don't look so good anymore. So one of the tools that I really like about ColorMind is if you come down all the way down here and you click on Bootstrap UI. Oh, it changed my colors. Darn it. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. You can come down to Bootstrap UI and they'll take whatever current colors you have and they'll apply them in kind of like a sample UI setting. Now, here's how it works. If you look at these 5 colors right here, they match the 5 colors in your randomly generated color scheme. So the middle color is your like what it says right there, your main brand color. And then over on one side they have light shades and on the other side they have dark shades. So what they do is they give you 2 different UI settings. One using the light shades as your light background and the other one using the dark shade as your dark background. And you notice the other ones are accents. We're only looking for one accent, so we can choose between 2 of these. So if you keep scrolling down, notice it's going to take this first dark color and make that the background. Well, for our UI, we want the lighter background, right? So just keep scrolling down, then you'll hit the lighter background. And it's still using these colors up here. So it kind of gives you an idea of how these colors can work together. Gives you a little preview. But I've also found that there's limitations to this as well. Because remember, we're looking for our tint color, right? For like our buttons and other controls that you can interact with. And This is more like a web page UI. What would be super cool, and maybe you guys know if this exists, if you could see a preview of an iOS app with a color scheme. So every time I click generate here, it changes, what the iOS screens look like. So that I think would be really cool. There is a website that kind of does that for Android phones, but it's very limited. Okay, and there's another tool that's also on ColorMine where you can upload an image. And this actually does exist on if we look at the Adobe Color site and we go back to create, they have that option too. But I like ColorMine because it seems to come up with better color schemes. Let me show you an example. So I'm going to click on image upload. I already have a scene of a beach, and I figured this would be a good picture because, like I said before, when people travel, they tend to go to a beach or they dream of going to someplace warm and sunny and tropical. So let's open up this. And here are some colors that it selects. So it's pretty cool. It finds matching colors in the photo and tries to come up with a good color scheme from that. I can keep clicking generate and it's going to keep trying to find colors that match. Okay, so let's go back to the main ColorMine site. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click generate a few times. And the thing I'm going to look for is a nice tint color to start with. So maybe like this orange color right here. I'll lock that down. That will be my tint color. And what I want is I want something lighter and then something that will go good with this color as far as my accent. So a lighter color will kind of like more represent my background color. But what I could do is just do this. I can edit it and then lighten it up and then say, oh, that's my background color. So there we go. We got a nice lighter background color, and then I'm going to lock that down. So now all we're really looking for is just an accent color or a couple of options for accents. All right, let's try this. Let's see how this works. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Then I'm going to go back into Keynote and apply this color scheme. Okay, we'll go down to the second option here. And there's my color scheme. I'll just drop it in here. And really, we can use any of these colors as our tint color. So let's try it with the red first. Okay, then I'm going to change the color of the rose. And then I think I'm going to change the color of the text too. The black does look okay, but let's try it with this darker blue. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think I want it to be just slightly darker, just so it sticks out just a little bit more. There we go. So I just adjusted this slider. I can experiment with lighter colors, darker colors, or just find something that's just a little bit darker, which I think that looks good. Okay, this doesn't look bad, right? It actually looks pretty close to our first option. So we can experiment with this. Just make another copy of it. And let's flip around these two colors, the text and the background color, just to see how it looks. So for the text, I'm going to go with that lighter color. And then for the background color, I'll choose this darker blue. So that's another option too right there. And this too, I think, looks pretty good. We could even try lightening up that darker color just to see if that might appeal more to our market. Yeah, just a little bit, maybe something like that. Okay, I think this is a good option. It has a little bit more contrast than these two because these two are pretty close, right? We can delete this color scheme here. Okay, now at this point, if you want to share this with your client or with your friends, you can always send them the whole PowerPoint presentation and have them look at it. But remember, you can also export these to images. So if you want to just send them the pictures of the ones that you like, then just use this option right here to export to images. Okay, we've got some colors now for our app to use. Now what do? Well, now it's time to get feedback, like we did in our previous videos. Approval isn't a one-time action. It's a constant communication between you and your client and your market. If you're interested in seeing what the third color scheme will be, and maybe a fourth, and you want to participate and cast your vote for your favorite color scheme, then head over to my Patreon site and take a look. You can see the address at the bottom of this screen here if you want to participate. There'll also be another address that will take you directly to the poll that will be in the video description down below. I look forward to getting your vote and then making a decision. Alright, so let's wrap up. In this video, you learned about the 3 minimum colors that you'll need to start for any of your apps. There's the background, the tint, and then there's everything else, or the accent. But those are just the starting colors. You can definitely have more colors than just those 3. We also talked a little bit about Apple's human interface guidelines and what they have to say about the tint color. That's the color that you want to give to everything that the user can touch and interact with. And then we covered some tools for picking colors and getting inspiration as well. Thanks guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing and clicking on that bell button so you can get alerted for other videos that will be coming out in this series. There's probably like 20 more videos that are going to come out. The next videos are going to deal more with actually building the app. Consider sharing it on social media. And if you want to help out my channel, you can always click on the 3 dots that are next to that share button and add a translation in your native language, just for the title and the description. That way, it'll help people in your country who speak your language find my videos. All right, thanks guys.